I'll continue. You can check the translation and don't worry about what Muslims. I read that. Okay. Leech in Google Translate. How much you want to bet that leech wasn't added to the meaning of the Arabic words for blood clot until after we discovered that an embryo is never a blood clot? How much you want to bet? You are just forcing your English translation, which Muslims or evil Jews wrote in Sunnah.com, the Sunni Muslim website. Of course, he gave me a Muslim website that said that it was translated by Muslim scholars. I should have reminded him of that. Sorry, learn Arabic if you want. So, if I do, how come the Muslims who translate the Arabic into English have it as a clot of blood instead of leech in Sahih Muslim hadiths? Notice that in the site you sent me, that instead of refuting blood clot, it tried to say alaq can mean a whole bunch of things for clinging, sticking. You don't find that cute and funny, do you? But I do read Arabic, and I check the dictionary, and the word doesn't mean what you like. And why does the Quran have Surah 96 as a clot? Why does it say, who created mankind from a blood clot? If there are more than one meaning to the word, and you chose the wrong one, then it's up to you, because for me, I will choose the correct meaning. Well, where is that Quran and Hadith that has it right? The ball of dividing cells. Where? Where is that surah called the ball? For the ball of dividing cells. Man, keep it short. Then get to the point and don't takia. Lie for Allah. One by one, not running away. I don't have all day for you. Okay. You can search the answers online in Muslim sites. I do. If one thing wasn't clear, I can reply to it. And it gives the Arabic. Is not a clot. So it's talking about the early stages of the sperm. If so, then why does the Quran have the Spirit saying recite in the name of your Lord who created mankind from a blood clot? But you think it really means leech-like substance? If so, then how come all those hadiths have it as a blood clot? And for 40 days. How come? You say, of course not, but how could the Muslims who translate all these hadiths have it as a blood clot instead of like a blood clot? I meant to say, how could the Muslims who translated all these hadiths have it as a blood clot instead of like a blood clot? Yes. You say, are you actually evil? What? Evil Jews, right? Even though he sent me something that said it was Muslim scholars who translated this way. Because they couldn't find word matching the Arabic word, maybe. Isn't that enough reason? Allah couldn't have said B and made it so they said ball of dividing cells. Allah couldn't have said B and made it so instead of saying 40 days of being dividing cells, it could have been, say, 40 hours, which is far more likely for an embryo to be dividing cells. How come Allah couldn't have said that? Instead said, recite in the name of your Lord who created mankind from a clot of blood. How come it said that? You say, how is recite, read in the name of your Lord who made mankind a clot of blood clear? Exactly, how is that clear? You say, how is it clear when Quran tells you, a Muslim, to listen, bro, Quran is not for you alone. What's that have to do with my question? It's for all the nations and all the times. To confuse all the nations and all the times? Again, what does that have to do with the question I asked? Again, how is recite, read, in the name of your Lord who made mankind, who created mankind from a clot of blood, clear signs, when we know that an embryo is never a blood clot, especially for 40 days? How is that clear signs handed down? How? So 1,000 years ago, when you tell people about these our words is expanding, they won't know it. So, Allah cared more about the people in caveman times instead of those who think now? Is that fair? Why couldn't Allah have said something like, recite in the name of your Lord who created mankind out of the substance of the earth? It would have been like saying the sky is blue, but at least it wouldn't have been wrong, it wouldn't have been a lie. I mean, face it, since we are never blood clots, the best of deceivers, Allah, not only lied to the caveman, it continues to lie even now. And this liar is going to give you transparent flesh butts that are over a mile wide in size if you die killing for it. It's going to give you eternal children to deflower if you die in jihad. How can you be so trusting of a being that lied about how embryos develop? How can you believe it will come forward with a sex when the lie is so blatant? How? They have the signs of their time, and we have the signs of our times. Yet Allah sided with the caveman to not turn them off with something true. Balded dividing cells. It lied and said we are leeches and blood clots. Really? It lied when it said created mankind from a clot of blood. Look, I'll say the best of deceivers. I'd rather Allah turned off the caveman of that time with the truth than tell a lie to not turn off the caveman. What does that tell you when Allah had to lie and say a blatant lie to not turn people off? And it wasn't just with embryos. Allah lied by saying the sun needs to seek permission to rise after it's setting and prostrating on the throne of Allah. Then it's told that it will someday come where it won't rise in the east, but rise in the west. If Allah knew such a thing was a lie, rather than say the earth needs to constantly seek permission to keep on rotating, why couldn't Allah just remain silent on the subject? God remains silent in the book the Quran says it confirms. God remains ambiguous and just says something like the earth hangeth upon nothing. Isn't that better than saying the earth is spread out like a carpet? And then you find out in the hadith it's on the back of a giant fish called Nun, according to Muhammad in the hadith. And face it, is the earth on the back of a giant fish called Nun? Think, O slave of the best of deceivers. Think. How much time do I have left? Oh, I've got some time. And there are signs for people who will come after us just to prove Quran knows more than human does, which means it's not human made. Oh, what are those signs? Are you saying that someday people will be created out of blood clots? Where do you get that out of the Quran? So you don't have to understand everything. I know enough to know that the sun doesn't have to ask permission to rise again after setting and prostrating under Allah's throne. I know enough to know that embryos are balls of dividing cells without blood, and it's not for 40 friggin' days of being blood, and then 40 friggin' days after of being a blood clot, and then 40 friggin' days after that being a morsel of food or chewed food or something like that, and then the angel comes. But now we know about embryology, and we can judge by what we got of knowledge. Right. And we can judge the Quran to show that Allah cared more about getting caveman on its side than modern humans like myself who know we are never blood clots. If there truly is an Allah who wrote the Quran and not a creation of a mad man in the Arabian desert who likes porking a 9-year-old little girl, you say, come to me for reading, not recite. Right. If you didn't know Quran is not the book, it's the words being recited. So if you burn all the books, we don't lose Quran because it's memorized by people generation after generation. What's that have to do with Quran 1094 about you, a Muslim, coming to me for my reading, not reciting, but my reading the before scriptures, especially if only the Quran is not corrupted? What? Of course, he got me off of that embryo stuff, so it worked. Yeah, Sticky, it worked here. I just heard they reached 10 million plus humans memorized the Quran complete. I don't care. I'd far rather they study the Quran than memorize it. Far rather they study the Quran and wonder why old Mo, I mean Allah, would appeal to cavemen and lie about the development of embryos, turning off modern humans who now know embryos are never blood clots, not even leeches. I just heard they reached 10 million human memorized Quran complete, yet I didn't check the study, so I'm not sure. But Quran was memorized from Muhammad till now. Again, I don't care. And again, I'd rather that they study the Quran and wonder why old Mo and Allah would appeal to cavemen and lie about the development of embryos, turning off modern humans such as myself who now know an embryo is never a blood clot. And the books are not really called the Quran, but the words being recited. So, and he gives the Arabic here. Bro, will you be logical or are you just going to argue? I'm going to ask questions until you give me a straight answer or leave. That's talking about heaven, not earth. You don't find any differences? I have no idea what this is in reference to. You say, I'm sure you will, for it's completely stupid to believe in embryos is ever a blood clot. And it's a lie, which I see you have no problem with. You can check the translations and what the meaning of the word, and notice that it's always a blood clot in the hadiths, even the ones that say for 40 days. You don't have to keep pushing. I did check Google Translate, and it didn't say blood clot. That's because Muslims gave the computer a long list of things, and one of them was leech and chew. But wherein all those Qurans in English before Yusuf Ali has it a clinging leech-like clot, before we discovered that embryos are never blood clots? Where? Where is that hadith that says the same thing? Where? And you know something? He never provides it. But